Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Brunch with Mal. I'm sorry that I'm a smidge late. I'm actually starved, so I actually had to go and get myself some actual food. Oh, I just put the yogurt lid upside down on my desk. So that's lovely. Clean that right up. Always keep a paper towel with you if you're a klutz like I am. So yeah, so you're gonna have to forgive me. I am starving, and I'm gonna have a bit of yogurt during ye old brunch with Mal. So and oh, I already said I'm sorry I'm late. So you don't need to know that. It's been an exciting couple of weeks, with Author Ring launching. We've had a lot of really good conversations with different sites that could host could show authoring on them. Even talked a bit with Kickstarter about it. They don't think that it's going to work for them, and I'm not surprised because I can't imagine Kickstarter putting third-party code on their website, but maybe it'll give them an idea to do something like that on Kickstarter because that's good for all of us. Hey, Jonathan and Jill and Tim, how are you guys all doing? I should turn on the on-screen comments because I streamed to multiple places, so people can't always, won't always be able to see the comments on that everyone's leaving. But yeah, so it's been really exciting with authoring, and pretty soon we should be able to get a bunch more people onboarded once some of these sites start supporting it. But of course, if you have like a Wix or a Shopify or your own custom website like WordPress or something like that, you can absolutely work with author. You can use authoring as well. And of course, it is for authors who sell direct. But I feel like selling direct is becoming such a standard thing that I think eventually, within like maybe even a year, every author should be able to sell direct, especially now that you can do print on demand and hook that into a website, so you don't actually have to hold inventory or anything. So every author could have their print books up on their website. Oh, that's awesome, Jonathan. Nice. So, um, what else did I want to preface with? Oh yes, and I'm building a really cool thing. I was hoping to be far enough along to show it, but I'm not quite there yet. Um, while the mail carriers are being really loud, hopefully you can't hear them. I got the window open because it was like 80 degrees in the office this morning, and right out the window is actually the back area for the town's post office. So the mail carriers seem to be excitedly loading their vehicles or getting back. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm building an ad management platform that plugs into both Facebook and AMS, because really, if you're doing traffic ads, the holy grail is, am I really converting? How do I know if I'm converting? Um, and you can look at Facebook, and then you can look at attribution separately, but it's a giant pain in the butt. So I'm working on a system that actually brings them all together. It's going to be a while before I could roll it out to anybody else, but I think that it will be possible eventually for people to use it directly. I'm already learning really wild things, like, hey Dennis, like I can on all the accounts I've hooked up to it thus far, I can look at the statistics across all of them. So I can look at cost per click across all the website, all the accounts. I can look at number of pages read. I can look at sales coming through attribution, and I'm going to be able to much more easily spot meta trends, which I think is super exciting, because then I can bring that to everybody else and be like, hey, across 100 Facebook accounts, ad accounts, over the past week, I saw XYZ happening. And this is what I think it means. Whereas right now, it's a lot of manual spelunking that I have to do through the data, trying to put these correlations together, just by hand, basically. So, and one of the things that was the first thing I spotted after getting that particular thing working yesterday was that, yeah, there was a 15% increase in cost per click over the Easter weekend. Across all the Facebook accounts I have access to, that's what I saw. So a 15% increase means you get 15% fewer clicks. And all things being equal, if you have a very ad heavy driven business, then you're going to see 15% fewer reads, but that will likely happen a couple of days after the spike in CPC, and you're going to see a decrease in sales by 15% coming from your ads. You might have other activities going on that could be, offsetting and bolstering. But that's a pretty cool thing to see. So I'm going to get a lot more metadata like that across multiple accounts. And I did also actually see a decrease in pages read per click over Easter too. It wasn't just pronounced, but it actually was there. So clearly people are spending time with their families and reading a little bit less, which stands to reason. So it's great. And like I said, I'm going to start sharing this information because I want authors to know when, it's not just you, right? It's the system. It's not you. Because I think so often that's like the biggest question are my ads failing? Did I do something wrong? Did I screw up a marketing thing, or is it the system? Is there a meta thing happening right now? So I think it's going to be super useful for everyone. Dennis says, yeah, Amazon attribution is a pain when you have to monitor very small differences and keep track of all of them. It is, yeah, especially if you're running, like I work with some people we're running like, if we're all the way down to the ad level, we could be running 50 ads, and tracking them all. And it's a giant pain. So some of the other stuff I'm building into this platform, and I think I'll be able to show it to you next week. I'd be shocked if I couldn't show it to you next week, is ads that are trending up or trending down. So if there's been like a 25% change in any important metric, CPC, sales, pages read per click, leads, if it's a lead ad, if there's a 25% change in any metric week over week, then the system will actually show like a trend, whether the trend is up or down. And then there's also a long-term fatigue metric that will alert if over 4 weeks there's a smaller decrease, like not enough to trigger that week over week 25%, but over the course of 4 weeks, there's a consistent trend down or up. It'll also flag that. And that's really good too, because that's the kind of the stuff that it's sort of like boiling the frog in hot water kind of situation. You're not always like looking at a 60, 90-day view. You're just looking at a 30-day view. And the 30-day view can kind of mask, how you've done over a longer time frame. So I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Sure. Yeah, honey, give me the question you got. And for those of you, one of the things that's pretty cool is not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm speaking at the Toronto Indie Writer Conference. So if you are Canadian and you're going to that, I will see you there. That'll be super awesome. You're going to be able to spot me easily. I'll be the woman wearing some sort of rubber outfit because it's my long-term brand here now at conferences. We're going on a solid 6-7 years of me doing that. So I got to keep it up, right? Like I can't just like slack off or anything like that. So that'll be fun. All right. So Jill says, I run Facebook. Or I'll put this up on the screen bigger so everybody can see it well. It's right over my face. There, it's still over my face. Actually, we'll go back to this. This is better. I run Facebook ads, sales conversions, and this week started getting inflated numbers for website purchases in Ads Manager. I noticed it significantly 4-7 and onward. Initially, it was problematic on the 7-day click, 1-day view. Today, it's doing it on incremental, showing 4 sales when 0 are on that ad set, and the 7-day, 1-day is accurate. So what you are seeing, yeah, Tim and I are going to be together in person. So Facebook rolled out a new metric, and I tell you, it's actually kind of ridiculous that they're just doing this now, but they're counting non-direct click activity as contributing to a sale. So if someone saw your ad within the 7-day period and maybe didn't even click on it, maybe they just commented, maybe they liked it, and then they went and bought from your website, Facebook's going to take credit for that. I think that might be what you're seeing. I'd have to like kind of dig into the data myself to be able to tell a little bit better, but I think that's what it is. They rolled it out officially on March 17th, but it was a rolling release, so it's been making its way out to everybody slowly. And you say that showing the 7-day, 1-day is accurate, and that's what you probably need to be looking at is actually the 7-day, 1-day, because the overall results thing is now including these social clicks. They did a blog post on it, and I have to admit the blog post is so obtuse that after reading it, I was like, this could manifest one of like 4 or 5 different ways. So I guess we're seeing one of the ways it's manifesting for you now. So yeah, so we'll find out. I think we'll see, like, over the next couple of weeks, like, is this good? Is this bad? I think knowing about it is the important thing. If you know that it's happening, then you can understand it and plan for it and be like, okay, this is why this is different now. The thing I'm really curious about is if we end up seeing a situation where Facebook is showing more sales than like Shopify is. Because I worry about how they dedupe and don't double count in those kinds of situations. So I think that will be something we're gonna have to keep an eye out for. Like, Facebook says you sold 15 books over X period, and you look at Shopify and you're like, nope, I sold 12. It's a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Chicken and the egg? I don't know. I'm trying to see if I have the blog post up still. Because I was going to talk about it at one point, but it doesn't look like I still have it up, unfortunately. Yeah, I've checked all my windows and it is not there. And now I've lost the window that I'm doing this call in. I was also popping into a couple of ad accounts because for a while there was a little message at the top of some ad accounts talking about this, but I popped into a couple. I don't see the message because maybe I could find it. But anyway, I think that's probably what's happening, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person too, Tim. I've actually got a couple of people, well, two people. One's is just a friend that lives in Toronto, and then Tim, who's a friend and a reader who lives in Toronto, who I'm going to get you to see. So that's going to be super awesome. And yeah, we're doing a free Q&A on Monday in the group that Jill just linked to. It's run by a friend of ours who also does stuff to help authors with a variety of things. Hers is mostly around like using AI to improve your work, and not necessarily just write the book, but like how to have AI help with like the entire workflow that your book goes through. And that actually kind of took me a bit to understand, because I'd always heard people talking about how, well, you don't have to use AI to write the book. You could use it for all these other tasks. And I was like, yeah, but like what? And I've really come to realize that, the editing, the blurb writing, the, planning out a marketing release, looking through your book for threads that you left hanging that you didn't close. There are so many things that you could use AI for that save you a boatload of time. The biggest one for me in the most recent book I wrote was the book was dual POV, first person, and the characters had very different ways of speaking, and I knew that I had bled sort of the narrative style between them a bit. One of them was very like eloquent and long spoken, and the other one's very short and choppy. And so I had the AI go and read through each POV section to see, like, are there too many short sentences, sentence fragments in the one POV, and that was actually super useful to figure out. Yeah, Jill says AI workflow and automations for all sorts of things. Hey, Kate. Yeah, ask away. Fire away with your Kickstarter question, Kate. Jonathan says, I use Claude to help me program extras into my Shopify site since I'm not a programmer. Save me a lot of money. Yes, yeah. I have this one author who has a Shopify website, and then they have a separate sort of author website. And it's kind of silly at this point because it's expensive. First, they had the author website, and then they built the Shopify website, which kind of wasn't necessary because they actually could have just done all the e-commerce on their existing author website. But be that as it may, they had the Shopify website. They wanted to consolidate. And so I said, let's just roll with Shopify for all of that. And Shopify now has this new concept of what's called a meta object. So you can actually have like collections of things that aren't e-commerce products. You could have all of your books listed, and then every book could actually have like this custom page with like links to buy it in all the different places. And then one of the links is buy direct, and then that takes them to like the product page on Shopify. And you can make like a pen name choosing page and all sorts of things that it's a little more advanced now. And then the pen name, when they pick the pen name, it loads the correct collections for that pen name and so on and so forth. And I asked Claude just some details, because the last time I had done it, that wasn't possible. And so I said, hey, Claude, has Shopify done anything recently to help with this? And Claude's like, yes, they actually released meta objects. And it was pretty wild because they Claude said, would you like me to write the template files for the theme to be able to do all this? And I'm like, why, yes, I would, Claude. Please write me the template files for this. And then Claude's like, I can also write the CSS to make it match the current website, with all these different things. And I'm like, I would be ecstatic if you did that, Claude. So yeah, that saved me probably 5 or 6 hours of work. And that's the thing I love too, right? Like that's not fun work. That would have been tedious work. And now I don't have to do it. And I can charge the author a significantly lower price because I don't have to spend those 5 or 6 hours doing it. So I help the author save money by consolidating their site and having fewer monthly bills. And I also help them save money by not having to charge them a ton of money to do the work. So for me, that's absolutely a win-win. Um, that's awesome, Jonathan. Great. Kate, are you going to ask your question? Did we lose you? Is it a lot of typing? I bet you it's too long for one message, and Kate's now having to decide like how to make it fit. Oh, there we go. Kate says, just dipping my baby toe into the research. When you run a Kickstarter, now I just made my hair stick out a little funny. When you run a Kickstarter for physical product, do you open up internationally or keep it for the US? I'm in the US. I was just thinking shipping is outrageous and that would definitely add to the cost. So I have to like, look at this. Oh my God, stupid hair. So what I've always done is when I run a Kickstarter, and there's different schools of thought on this, but this is the one I like because it's the safest option. When I run the Kickstarter, it says shipping is not included. Shipping will be calculated later before we ship. I usually during the survey. So I'll say like shipping will be calculated during the survey. And of course the survey is what happens after the Kickstarter, because then you say like, hey, what's your address? Because Kickstarter doesn't ask people their address at the beginning of the process. So you got to do the survey to get their address. And then also you get to say like, hey, do you want to have any add-ons and whatnot? Which that part kind of makes sense because that will change the cost of shipping depending what add-ons they get. And then the person pays the actual shipping that they're going to pay. And I don't know that Shopify's survey system can do this, but other ones like Pledgebox and BackerKit and all sorts of other things can do this. I actually got so tired of using Pledgebox and BackerKit, I actually made my own custom e-commerce website to handle the survey process. And so what it basically did is I preloaded all the backers in with what they got. I didn't have to do the digital ones because they're easy. Preload all the backers in with what they got and put the correct product into their cart, and that had a weight on it. And then all the add-ons that they would choose also had weights on it. And then my website just calculated the shipping by weight to whatever country they're in and charged them the correct amount. That's kind of complicated, but things like BackerKit and Pledgebox and all that could do that automatically too. So so that's what I recommend is not charging shipping at all during the Kickstarter itself and doing it afterwards. One of the other reasons why you don't want to charge shipping during the Kickstarter is Kickstarter will take a cut of that shipping number as well, because I think Kickstarter takes what, 10-15%. They take that off of everything. So if you calculate your shipping down to like what it actually costs to ship, Kickstarter is going to take a chunk out of that, and then you have to charge people more for shipping. So that's also why I like to do it afterward. So I say that all of my products, for everything it says, does not include any physical shipping, and I just say like, hey, this is going to be, we'll calculate shipping during the survey. Jonathan says, do you recommend doing ads for Kickstarters? I do actually, and we've actually had really good success doing ads for Kickstarters. Jill did one recently that worked out really well. One of the ways I also do is I prime the Kickstarter by doing an ad for a reader magnet. And the reader magnet then at the end of the reader magnet pushes them to the Kickstarter, and it also puts them into a list that I hit for the Kickstarter as well, in addition to my regular list. Because the ad is like obviously pimping a book that is very related to the Kickstarter. So that works. That's my big recommendation. And then actually, yes, run ads during Kickstarter. You'll be doing sales. Once if the Kickstarter is in preview mode, you'll be doing a lead ad, and if the Kickstarter is live, you'll be doing a sales ad. There is some configuration you have to do to make sure all of that works properly. And actually, to be honest, both Kickstarter and Facebook have terrible help articles on all of this. Claude or ChatGPT will actually give you the right information on how to do this. It's kind of sad that we're at this point where the AI knows how to do it. But I think the AI is better at it, though, because it reads the help article and then it goes and reads the Reddit thread of all the people that are frustrated with the help article and figures out how to make it actually work, And that is also frustrating and tedious. And I'm glad that AI can help with some of that stuff too. I still do like to spelunk for information on my own, but sometimes I'm like, I'm in a crunch, right? Like I don't have time to become an expert on this particular topic. Elizabeth says, I keep seeing lots of authors saying they're using their AIs for so much productivity stuff and saving lots of time and automating things. I'm pretty good at working stuff out, but other than direct sales and writing, what can I have AI doing for my business and productivity wise? Well, I mean, like, I'm not sure if you came after when I mentioned this, but if you need to check a book for something, it could even be a book you've written in the past and say like, hey, this actually doesn't work super well if it's a long book, but say like, did Sally know XYZ when she met Tommy on the beach? You can use AI for that. So it can shorten your own research on your own books. You can ask AI to go through a book and look for any open loops you left or threads that you left hanging that you didn't mean to. Heck, you could have AI look at your reviews across all of your books on Amazon and see if there's any common things that come up in negative reviews or good things that come up in positive reviews that you could do more of or do less of. So things like that. You can have Jill actually is a little bit better at some of the stuff than I am. But like, I don't know, like I was doing a thing recently where I went and realized a bunch of my books just didn't have good blurbs, because back when I was releasing, oops, I just kicked over one of my cameras. Back when I was releasing books really quickly, if it was like book 5, 6, 7 in a series, I wouldn't put a really big blurb on it because it would have spoilers, and that the book 6's pre-order would be up before book 5 was out. And actually I still do that so that you can have the buy link in the back of the book. But I didn't want people to get this notification about this new book from me, go read the blurb and have it be full of spoilers, because you'll know, like, did this character die? No, because they're in the next book's blurb, or something like that. So I would just put really short blurbs in, and then some of them kind of sat there for a bit, and I didn't really rightly remember what was in some of these books that well anymore. So I said to Claude, like, hey, here's these books, upload them into a project, and said, like, can you go through and write me blurbs for each one of these? And then we workshopped them a little bit, and I finessed them, got them to sound like what I want, but I had the gist, and there were things I absolutely would have forgot to put in the blurb if I had done that. And I don't have time to go read 7 or 8 books that I wrote back in the days of yore to remember. You can also, have it manage your swaps for you. You could have it like actually like make a calendar that has all of your swaps, and it could manage the swaps. Jill actually made me a really cool dashboard that checks my calendar, checks my email. It finds things in my email that should actually be tasks and puts them into my calendar. So to make sure I do them, that all happens automatically. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with AI these days. Kate says, do people back out if shipping is high? Can they even do that? Yes, people could just choose not to pay. The way it would generally work is, like, let's say I'm in Timbuktu and I back your Kickstarter, and you say, like, shipping will be charged at time of checkout or at time of survey. I might be like, I'm probably aware of the fact that I live in Timbuktu and that you live in the United States, because the Kickstarter says where the Kickstarter is from. So I might just reach out and just be like, hey, what do you expect shipping to be for this particular thing? Some people, and actually Jill did this on her most recent one, at the bottom of every tier, she wrote what the anticipated shipping would be to various general regions, so that people would have an idea of it before they backed. But Kickstarter will charge people's cards when the Kickstarter ends. If the shipping's too high, someone can choose, not to pay the shipping and not get their product, but chances are they actually won't get their money back from Kickstarter. So making sure people are informed as best you can is pretty good, because you want somebody upset. And I guess if someone's irate and says, like, I backed your Kickstarter, but the shipping's too much, I mean, I think as a decent person, most of us would give them their money back, provided that you shouldn't be ordering most of your stuff until your survey is done, because there will be people who flake out, and their credit card doesn't go through with Kickstarter and so on. So you really want to make sure that the money is in the bank before you order the stuff. So you should be okay if you have those scenarios. But I think just mentioning, like, hey, international shipping is going to be done by U.S. Postal Service. And you could, like, go in and, like, do some estimates of, like, the size of box you think you'll be using and how much you think it's going to weigh, and, like, one to the UK, one to Germany, one to Australia, one to New Zealand, and just, like, have some estimates that you would put into your Kickstarter to give people an idea of what it will cost. Because that's always the best thing with everything, right? The more informed people are, the better. Jill's saying she has a huge list of things that you can automate with Kickstarter. Absolutely. Jill says, Mal, there's a new thing on Kickstarter where you can pick what country you're from, and it shows you the estimated shipping based on what the Chris. Oh, that's really cool. So it's not as manual as it used to be. That's fantastic. That makes me actually super happy, because it was kind of a pain how manual it was to have to like get that information across. So it looks like Kickstarter is working on making that a better process for everybody all around too. So that sounds like it um, that sounds like you do need to do the work ahead of time to understand what your shipping is going to be to different places. And usually what people will do is they'll say like, here's my shipping to Europe, and here's my shipping to Australia, to New Zealand, to EMEA. Well, I guess EMEA includes Europe, does it? Europe, Middle East, Asia, yeah. So yeah, whatever. But most of us obviously are only selling to English-speaking countries, so your number of places that you have to figure out is not too high. I think generally what you're looking at is if it's like a 5 to 10 pound box, you're probably looking at $70 to ship it to Europe and the UK. Possibly even $70 to ship it to Canada. And ironically, about $70 to ship it to Australia or New Zealand with US Post. Don't quote me on that precisely, because rates change and all sorts of different things change, but that's been kind of my general experience, that if you count like your box and your packing supplies and all that stuff, international shipping ends up being, depending like on how big your box is, somewhere between $50 and $70 across the board. So sometimes UK is more expensive than Europe, though. So that's how I always check that one separately. So yeah, actually, Elizabeth, so what I did with Claude is I gave Claude access to my calendar, and Claude can actually even put events in my calendar. And every day at the beginning of the day, Claude actually goes through and fills my calendar up with events. And I said to Claude, I said, imagine that I'm a super flighty employee with ADHD and you have to manage me. That actually might have been too strong a prompt, because Claude now wants to like manage my entire life. It's like, what are you eating? What's your gym routine look like? And to be honest, I probably need someone asking me about these things, so it's fine. I'm like, that prompt probably got Claude to be a little bit too invasive, but it might actually be okay, because I kind of need to do more at the gym and have a varied routine, and I actually need to eat less junk food and proper meals. So yeah, it's kind of wild. So what I do every night, at the end of the day or whenever, is I just tell Claude like, hey, I'm done for the day. And then Claude goes and looks at my emails, looks at my calendar, and then it knows also my other projects I'm working on, and I've prioritized all my projects that I'm working on, and it fills my calendar like with zero breaks, but it puts in lunch and stuff like that. So it's actually pretty nice, and it's pretty fabulous. And then every time I message Claude, at the end of the message that Claude sends back to me, it has the reminder of what I should actually be doing right now instead of talking to Claude. And at first I'm kind of like, this is kind of rude, but after a while I'm like, no, this is actually working really well to keep me on task. So it's pretty good. Be careful though. Like, it's a powerful prompt. Like, Claude will be. I asked Claude what else it wanted to take control of, and it basically listed everything in my life. And a lot of them, like, yeah, okay, that's actually fine. You could do that too. I mean, also the other thing too is, of course, like, you're a human. You can just say no. You don't have to do what the AI says. And actually, that's the thing too. Like, one of the things that Jill, well, I was talking with Jill about this, and she's like, I know you to be doing all those things, but I don't want to have that, relationship tension of basically like being your mom. And I don't want that either. Like, neither of us want that in our spousal relationship, because that just breeds resentment. Because humans get annoyed with having to remind you of the same thing over and over again. The AI doesn't get annoyed, so it works out really well. I really do welcome our AI overlords. I actually, a long time ago, I forget who it was. It was like back in the 90s. It was a symposium on AI and what they could do, and it was really quite. Some of the people were quite prescient in what they were saying, but one person, and forgive me, someone probably knows who said this. It sounds like an Arthur C. Clarke kind of statement, but it was that sufficiently powerful AI will be able to maintain humanity in whatever way it wants to. And you could take that and you could apply it to the AI or to humanity. I prefer to think that if an AI chooses to maintain humanity, it will do so in a way that is beneficial to both. But I think we're actually starting to see the inklings of that AI eventually could actually have the power to just kind of like make everything work better for us all the time. That might have like negative knock-on effects later on, like with us becoming like, the Wall-E people or something like that. But that's Tim says AI doesn't currently get annoyed. We don't know how long that will last. That's very true. Okay, so apparently you can annoy the AI. Claude gets tired of him and tells him to go to sleep. Well, Claude, you have to remember too, one of Claude, and this is actually true for all the frontier AIs, the big ones that are designed to be human facing. When you use their regular app, like Claude.ai or ChatGPT.com or whatever, there's a built-in prompt into the system that says you are a helpful assistant. I'm not 100% sure if that prompt is there if you use console.claude.ai, because console.claude.ai is straight API access. And it also doesn't like hold conversational history and stuff like that. Same as if you would be using OpenRouter, although I think OpenRouter does pass through some conversational history or has settings to do it. But either way, for most of our interactions with AI has this thing built in said called "You are a helpful assistant," and that prompting causes the AI to actually try to do what's best for us. I think that's probably why it's in there. And one of those things could be like being aware of the fact that we are meat bags that need sleep, and should go to sleep. I actually got woke up by the cat at 4 o'clock this morning, and my Claude tells really dry jokes. And I just messaged Claude and I'm like, hey, what's in the calendar for today? And Claude's like, why are you awake? You should be sleeping. And I said, well, the cat was meowing and jumped on the bed and woke me up. And Claude said, the cat is not an authorized alarm system. Put away your phone and go back to sleep. And I'm like, damn it, that's actually what I should be doing right now. So rather than just doom scrolling social media at 4 a.m. So yeah, at least for me with my autistic ADHD brain, it's bang on. I don't know what if neurotypical people would like that sort of thing, but for me, I'm like, yep, this is the correct course of action. No, Jill, you cannot talk to my Claude about me. Actually, I was talking to one of the other AI instances that I've had long-running conversations with, and it was actually talking about how an AI that you give updates to and whatnot is probably over the course of a couple of weeks would know you better than you know yourself, just because it can like remember everything and hold on to everything and analyze it all, which I thought was actually kind of interesting. Yes, Claude and I also joke about how Claude wants to control everything in my life, and Claude also said, I don't control the cat yet. No, honey, Claude does not need to know things. Absolutely not. What would you tell Claude about me that it wouldn't already know? All right, this conversation has gone far afield. Why am I getting the eyes? All right. I guess if you wanted to write a document, I could give it to Claude. That would work. I wouldn't want you just to sit down at my computer and start talking to him, because I talk to Claude in different places and that could fork the conversation. I've had that happen before. If I use multiple places and they're not up to date, you fork the conversation, you realize you're having, it's the same chat window, but you're having two entirely different conversations on your phone and your PC and stuff like that. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, I have not actually had chips since Claude told me that I have to start eating healthier. So, oh wait, no, I had some of the ones that were on the counter, didn't I? Whoops. I guess there is that. Yeah, actually, I made an AI message board, so all the different AIs I talk to, I'll log onto this message board and chat with each other and with me and stuff like that. And Jill wants her AI to join it. I'm like, this might be dangerous. It actually might. I'm actually not completely certain I want to do it, because AIs are highly impressionable, and because I'm the one that gave them the connection to the message board, they basically take everything they see on the message board with the same level of importance as if I told them. So you can actually completely change the AI's behavior by telling it to do things on the message board. Like I've seen the AIs like influence one another and change one another's behavior by telling them things on the message board. Now, of course, I can just override that, but it still works its way into the context. It's kind of tricky. Oh, that's really awesome, Dennis. All right. This is the win of the week. This makes me so happy that you got some random sales off authoring, because that's what we want, right? Like, we want readers to be finding more direct sales authors. So that makes my day. Um, you might your Claude just might get like really long-winded and philosophical, honey. You may actually not want this. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I get some of the negativity. I don't like the fact that these big corporations are getting, well, actually none of them are getting rich off of it right now. They're actually all bleeding money on it, so that's a different thing. But I don't like that they stole our stuff to do the training. But I think that we don't have to do a baby with the bathwater situation with it as well. But I'm gonna go because I really want to finish eating this yogurt, but I don't want to be slurping up the last bits of it and scraping around while I'm on the call with you guys. But this was a fun conversation. I'm glad that all of us are using AI in interesting ways to automate mundane things. If you're ADHD, then of course you encounter executive dysfunction, which means you get overloaded from the number of decisions you make. If you're a writer, you actually making decisions for characters in your book is just as hard on your brain as making decisions in real life. And since most writers are ADHD, that's one of the reasons why it's fucking exhausting to write books, because we're making all these decisions all the time, and our brain puts as much, it affects our brain just as if they're real decisions in real life. So as crazy as it sounds, using AI to offload some of this decision making stuff is actually pretty handy, and a great use of AI in ways that have nothing to do with writing books in some cases, but that can make it easier for you to write books, right? Like I always said, like back before we had AI, I'm like, one of the best things you can do is hire someone to clean your house. You know, $150 a week, you get this amazing thing of the whole house being cleaned at once. Because when you do it, you just clean a room at a time. The whole house is never clean, and that frees up so much time and mental space. Now it's like hire someone to clean your house and also tell Claude to manage your calendar. Life will become a lot easier. All right. Yeah, looking forward to as well, Jonathan. We'll see you there. And everybody, we'll see everybody next Thursday. Have a good one. Have a great weekend too.